All right, I want to welcome everyone out to the Abilities Expo virtual experience for 2020 year. I know this is all unprecedented, but I know that this presentation will be very informative, very helpful for a lot of families. Let's see here. So this is Disability and Special Needs Planning Made Easy, and my name is Andre Sam, and I am a Disability and Special Needs Planner. I do a lot of speaking sessions at various organizations that support individuals with a disability or a special need, as well as speak at many conferences. My contact information is listed below, and the reason why I give this out is in case you have any questions, you're welcome to get a hold of me, but also there is a lot of information here. I'd highly encourage you to find a notepad or something to take notes, because a lot of the bullet points, that's all they're going to be, is bullet points. I'm going to be going over a lot of the specifics during the session, but then also because this session is short and not everyone's circumstances are the same and I can't get through all the information, I offer a complimentary private meeting, and I'm happy to meet with you either over the phone or in person. Other than this crazy period of time in our lives, I usually travel all throughout the country, meeting with families all over. So I'm happy to do that with you. Like I said, I travel, work with families and organizations all throughout the country, work with about 46 of 50 states now. If you are in one of the states that's gray, fear not. It's not that I don't serve those families or those states. It's just simply that I haven't had the opportunity to work with someone from any of those states yet. So if you're from there, maybe this is an opportunity to cross that one off the list here. So as far as disability and special needs planning, a lot of times people don't know what exactly it is. So disability and special needs planning is a way to plan for your loved one who has a disability or special need. I go over it and I break it down into 4 categories. There is the legal planning, there is the government benefits, budget and financial planning, as well as lifestyle and transition planning. Those are the 4 things that are important to consider. And a lot of times when I discuss special needs planning with families, I mean, almost 100% of people agree that it's important. Yet, so few families actually do the planning. Why do so many families fail to plan for their loved one? Well, oftentimes it's because daily life gets in the way and a lack of patience. People want immediate results. So they want to do something and they want to see the immediate benefits and the fruits of their labor. Understandable. That's one of the reasons why. It can be an emotionally uncomfortable thing to discuss, because we are talking about when you are no longer around and your loved one needs to be cared for. And we are also talking about a financial aspect as well. And financial issues can be a reason why people fail to plan for their loved one. And oftentimes people don't know where or who to turn to for resources to address these things. So these are some questions just to get you in the right frame of mind and thinking the right way as we go about this presentation. What are your expectations for your loved one who has a disability or special need? Do you intend on them pursuing higher education or some sort of job or career? Any sort of activities, or what kind of living situation do you envision for them? If Medicaid or SSI are things that you are either relying upon now or probably going to be relying upon in the future, will it provide for everything? If so, how much? If you rely solely on government benefits, are you aware of the quantity and the quality of care you'll receive, or the wait list involved with Medicaid funded group homes? I mean, you do get what you pay for, so if you're not paying much, I mean, how much can you really expect? If something happened to you, what does life look like for your loved one tomorrow? Who will take care of them? Is guardianship or conservatorship needed in their future? And what exactly is guardianship? Will whoever you want to have look over your loved one, will they know what to do? And if so, how? How will you set aside funds specifically for your loved one to live the life you want for them when Medicaid and SSI usually in majority of states, place a $2,000 limit per individual on the amount of assets they can have. So before we go over this, just a full disclosure, this content is for informational purposes only and is not to be construed as financial or legal advice. Okay? And again, I offer a private complimentary consultation with you to go over the specifics of disability and special needs planning and how it relates to your set of circumstances. So with disability and special needs planning, like I said, I break it down into 4 categories: legal planning, government benefits, budget financial planning, and lifestyle transition planning. So we're going to start with the legal planning. And if you have not done any sort of plans, and by that I mean setting up a will or setting up a trust, fear not, I do have some good news for you. The state that you're living in has a plan for you. However, I do also have some bad news. And that is, if you don't have a plan in place, the state you live in has a plan for you. If you don't have a plan in place, the state will decide how your assets are to be distributed, who they will go to, and they will appoint guardians over any minor or adult incapacitated children. Okay? So we have a couple things that we need to address, and the legal documents that we're going to discuss that are important to put in place are a last will and testament, family trust, special needs trust, and we'll also talk about guardianship or conservatorship in some states, and the alternatives to guardianship and conservatorship, such as power of attorney. So the first important document to have in place is what's called a last will and testament. This is a legal document that states in writing how you want your assets to be distributed, who you want them to go to. And this is the document where you state who you want serving as the successor guardian or co-guardians of your loved one. In the documents that our attorneys create, we also list out who needs to be excluded from serving in that role. We oftentimes get caught up in who's going to be the successor, who's going to look after my loved one when I'm no longer around, and we forget that maybe in our family trees we have a bad apple here or there, someone who may look at my loved one as a paycheck, and we need to exclude those people. Okay? It's a fairly easy document to create. You can seek out legal counsel to do so, or oftentimes you can look on the internet or so and be able to create this document. It is better than having no documents, okay? However, there are some limitations as well. If you only have a will, if you don't have any other documents, you only have a will, this is a public document, so anyone can see what you're leaving and to whom. Your assets will also go through probate court. That's how it's kind of public. If you have not had any experience with probate before, probate is a division of the court system in the county and state in which you reside, where the government goes through your assets and properly reassigns them to the people that you stated in your will are to receive those documents or those assets. That can take some time, so your assets are frozen until the government is finished with their work. And as well, it can be a little expensive. Depending on the complexity of your case, probate can seize roughly 5 to 20% of your assets as a fee for doing that. Okay? And another issue that we have is we cannot list someone who needs SSI or Medicaid in your will. Because if those assets go to them, that can get them kicked off of those benefits, and they could be subjected to Medicaid payback. I'll go over that a little bit here in a minute. So like I said, while it's better than having nothing, there are opportunities to improve upon this. We need to solve 3 things here. One issue is that it's a public document. Another issue is that it goes through probate. And another issue is that you can't list your loved one in it. So the next important document to have in place is what's called a revocable family trust. Some people may have trusts. Maybe you know someone who does if you don't. Oftentimes, I hear from people that they think that in order to have a trust, you need to have millions or billions of dollars. No, that's not the case at all. With a revocable family trust, It is a legal document separate from your will, but it gives you more control over your assets. So you can state who receives what, but you can put conditions and contingencies in there as to how they receive them. It solves the issue of making things private. Okay, that was one of the issues that we're solving for. The other issue that we're solving for is that it bypasses probate court. So your assets go to the people that you want them to without government interference and without the government and probate court coming in and taking 5 to 20% of your assets. So it's a very quick asset transfer. You can amend, change, terminate this document while you're still alive. Okay? So while it is great to have both a will and a family trust because it does avoid probate and it keeps things private, you still can't list your loved one who has a disability or special need. Okay, so that's still one issue that we need to take care of. And then also, the assets are still subjected to creditors or lawsuits. So just by putting your assets in a trust doesn't protect those assets from going to a lawsuit or creditor or whoever. And this is a more complex document to create. So it's usually not one of those that you can just do it yourself if you want. This one, you probably want to seek out legal advice on this one. So in order to solve that third issue of listing your loved one or passing assets to your loved one who has a disability or special needs trusts come into play. These are the different types of special needs trusts. I'm not going to spend too much time on these. The most common one that I see with people is this one right here, this testamentary special needs trust. However, it has many limitations, and the reason why it's created oftentimes is because many people get an estate planning attorney who doesn't know disability and special needs law. So they oftentimes create this one because they don't know any better. It is completely legal, but it has many, many limitations. And oftentimes it is drawn up incorrectly, and the assets that are supposed to go to this trust end up going to the person themselves, and that creates a big mess. So the best one, or the most preferable option, is this third party, separate irrevocable special needs trust. You or anyone else, except for the person with the disability or special needs, can leave assets to the special needs trust for the benefit of your loved one. Okay? If your loved one who has a disability or special need has assets themselves and they need to qualify for Medicaid, that's where this first party special needs trust comes in. And then there's also a pooled trust where it's third party money management of your assets. This one has some limitations as well. And then there's a Miller Qualified Income Trust if you need to transfer income, like a disability insurance policy in order to be eligible for Medicaid. But generally speaking, with a special needs trust, it's a document that provides assets for the benefit of the individual. It's kept private, and if drawn up correctly, I can't state that enough, if drawn up correctly, it gives the person the ability to maintain their SSI and Medicaid while having those assets protected from any sort of lawsuits or creditors or from SSI and Medicaid coming in and taking those assets. There are still some aspects of the special needs trust that you can amend, change, or terminate while the person's still alive. But it's a very complex document to create, and the individual with the disability or special need cannot have direct access to the assets or funds. You as the trustee, the person that's managing it, would be handling those assets. That's what keeps their eligibility. Okay, so before I go into guardianship, just a quick recap. The 3 important documents to have are a last will and testament, revocable living trust, and a third party, most likely, special needs trust. Okay, so in your will, it would state that the executor of my will is the trustee of my family trust. The beneficiaries of my will are the beneficiaries of my family trust. So it's doing a lot of referring to the family trust. And in the family trust, that's where you would get into specifics, and it would list the special needs trust for your loved one. Okay? Now, guardianship. If your loved one is under 18, yes, You are the parent or the guardian. You're able to make decisions for them. But once they're 18, I got news for you. Legally speaking, you are no longer able to make decisions for them. There's nothing in the Constitution that provides an exception for an individual with a disability or special need. So if you need to retain guardianship, you need to petition your local county court for guardianship over an adult incapacitated child or individual. Now, I'm not going to tell you if guardianship is or is not appropriate for you, but here's some ways to think about it. If your loved one is not capable of reading and understanding a power of attorney document, which is essentially the alternative to guardianship, if they can't understand it, that might be a sign right there that guardianship is appropriate. If your loved one is susceptible to financial exploitation, guardianship might be appropriate. If they're not capable of managing their own health decisions, guardianship might be appropriate, okay? And each state approaches guardianship a little bit different. Sometimes people think, well, I don't want to take away my loved one's rights. Can my loved one still vote when I have guardianship? Yes, if they are capable of doing so, and when you have the hearing in front of the judge, yes, you can request that they have the ability to maintain their voting rights. Also, can they still drive? Yes, they can still drive. Just like a minor who's 16 or 17 can drive. Parent has to sign it off, and they have to pass the driving test. Same thing. Can my loved one get married? Yes. Just like a minor who's 16 or 17, can they get married? In most states, yes. A parent just has to sign off on it. Okay, so there's more of that, but I'm happy to go over that in a private session with you. So again, for the legal planning, first document, last will and testament. Second, revocable living trust. Third, special needs trust, depending on your situation. Might be 2 or more different special needs trusts that are needed. And then the fourth and fifth for yourself is a medical and financial power of attorney. That's what each and every person should have. If your loved one is not capable of having these, then guardianship would be appropriate. But if they are, then medical and financial power of attorney would be appropriate. Now, government benefits. We're going to go over this fairly briefly as well. We're going to talk about 3 cash benefits and 2 health benefits, and brief discussion about microboards. So there's SSI, SSDI, Social Security retirement or survivor benefits, Medicaid, Medicare, and like I said, microboards or person-centered planning. Oftentimes people get SSI and SSDI mixed up, so I'll get these things clarified. SSI pays benefits to disabled adults and children who have limited income and resources. Usually, an individual who has a disability or special need at the age of 18 is eligible for SSI. They might be eligible prior to 18, but in order to qualify, both the parent and the child's income and assets have to be below a certain threshold. So oftentimes, because of the parent's income and assets, they don't qualify. But at 18, they only consider the child's income and assets. That's when they usually do. The max SSI payments right now are $771 a month. Some states have supplemental amounts as well. And fear not, if you have been denied for SSI, apply and apply again, because oftentimes the government will simply reject you because they figure, hey, some people will quit and that's a victory, but you have to appeal it, okay? But again, income and assets are the big things that determine SSI. $2,000 per individual, $3,000 if married, and then the income based upon the state that you're in is determined. Social Security disability insurance is if you have worked and paid into Social Security and then you're no longer able to work, then based upon your earnings history, then you are provided a certain monthly payment or so. Okay, so you have to actually work and then become disabled in order to get Social Security disability. A little bit different than SSI. And then there's Social Security retirement or survivor benefits. Pays benefits to those who have either contributed to Social Security system, or their spouse and or their children with disabilities. Here, this is something that you look forward to when you reach your 60s or your 70s or so. Okay. If your loved one has a disability, they may be able to claim the child's benefit off of your Social Security. For example, let's say that you are receiving $4,000 a month in Social Security, but you have a disabled child. The child's benefit is 50%, so they could be eligible for $2,000. Okay. Obviously, it's a little bit more complex than that. Happy to go over that at a later date and time, but just know that. These are two things that often get mixed up as well. Medicaid, Medicare. What's the difference? Medicare, the one here in red, is what you usually receive in your 60s or so when you retire. This is your health insurance that's provided by the federal government. Medicaid is your state-run government program. Okay, so if you're in, I don't know, Arizona, it's Access. In Illinois, it could be PUNS. Whatever government programs are being provided at the state level for you, that's Medicaid. And Medicaid has the income and asset limits. Medicaid provides group home funding. Medicare does not. Oftentimes I hear from people that if they get old, and if they need a nursing home or assisted living facility, they have Medicare. They're good, they're covered. Medicare does not provide any group home funding. That's Medicaid. So oftentimes you may hear of people who had to spend down their assets before they could qualify. That's talking about Medicaid. Okay? And this goes over where Medicaid eligibility is automatic. Some states automatically grant Medicaid when you get SSI. Other states have slight differences. So Medicaid eligibility, when it's administered by Social Security, these are the states that do so. Some states administer it themselves. And then where Medicaid eligibility is not automatic and they have different rules about income and resources, these are the states that have that. And then micro boards. So if any of you have a Medicaid waiver, such as Easter seals, or you receive any sort of therapies or so that are paid for by the state, you probably have a provider. However, some people want to be more hands-on and manage those things themselves. So a micro board, you can create your own nonprofit and you can have it apply and become the official approved Medicaid provider for your loved one. So instead of the funds going to an Easter Seals or Knights of Columbus or whatever agency you may be using, it could go straight to the nonprofit to be used for your loved one's benefit. There's obviously more details in that, but just for the sake of this conversation today, that's what you should know. And we're coming down the home stretch here. The third important part of disability and special needs planning is the budget and financial planning. And these are the parts that we'll be discussing. Balancing the present and the future, assets, liabilities, income, and expenses, balancing family goals, third-party help, guidance, custodianship, and able accounts. So a lot of times, while we're planning for our loved one and how they're to be cared for in the future and how much it's going to take in order to do so, we're trying to balance other goals as well. Maybe it's retirement for ourselves. Maybe it's big purchases for other children we may have. Or maybe it is educational goals, saving for college or weddings or whatever it may be. So it's important to find a balance between being able to live the way in which you want today as well as later on. There's a couple different ways that you can solve that. I mean, you could save every penny, you could do retirement plans, investment accounts. Oftentimes what I do with families is we do some sort of SSI or SSDI/life insurance combo. And that's where we take a portion of the SSI, put it towards a life insurance policy, because the caregivers are going to be looking after their loved one while they're still alive and able to. The big thing is when they're not around, who's going to be able to, and where's that money coming from? Well, at that point, the life insurance would be there to provide that windfall money to help your loved one be able to sustain the lifestyle that you envision for them. ABLE accounts. ABLE accounts are fairly new. They've only been around for about 6 years, but these are state-operated accounts where it's essentially a bank account for the benefit of an individual with a disability or special need. The nice thing about this is if your loved one with a disability or special need is working, they could directly deposit their paychecks into this ABLE account. If the account goes over $2,000, no worries. You don't have to worry about them getting kicked off their SSI or Medicaid, okay? There are other rules, such as you can't put currently more than $15,000 a year total into it. But if anyone wants to leave anything to it, or if they want to cut a check and send them some money, they can do so. Just keep in mind that you can't list an ABLE account as a beneficiary. That's where special needs trusts come in. Okay, the website is down below. It talks a lot more about these accounts, but it is a way to put aside assets for your loved one so that they can continue working and not have to worry about those funds going back to the government for Medicaid payback or getting kicked off of those benefits. Last part here is lifestyle and transition planning. And this part is just as important, if not more important, than the other parts. So while we've put the legal plans into place, we've coordinated the government benefits, and we've done the proper budget and financial planning, oftentimes, well, many individuals aren't going to either understand or care about any of those things. They're going to care that someone knows them and understands them. So this, what we do is we create a letter of intent. And this is kind of like a guide into who your loved one is. And there are plenty of ways to document, and what to document is also very important. So with this, you can write things out. Oftentimes, people will create videos or audio recordings because you simply can't explain something in writing. Oftentimes what we do with families is we create a private YouTube channel and we document with little video clips, anything from how to handle certain medical equipment or how to handle the individual in certain social situations. All those things are going to be important because if and when you are no longer around, your loved one is going to want someone who knows and understands them. And the caregiver is also going to want that as well. So when you create this, you're helping that transition go much more smooth. So just to wrap things up here, like I said, throughout this presentation, this is a lot of information. I offer a complimentary private meeting with you. It's totally optional, and you're welcome to meet with me either in person or over the phone or Zoom. It gives you the opportunity to ask, answer any sort of private questions. I'll be able to assess where you're at in the planning process. Like I said, not everyone has the same set of circumstances. You're welcome to contact me one of those ways. You can go on the website, www.projectdsmp.com, or you can email me, or you can call or text me. But I want to thank you for your time, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe out there.